Can I do my diva thing and ask for 5 seconds of silence? Hi, I'm John. I'm recording from the Isle of Wight from a grassy knoll this week.
And I'm John, and I click when I walk.
And I'm not John, and this is Would John Rather, a podcast where I ask two Johns would they rather questions, and without any prior knowledge, they attempt to answer them. Been on a bit of a roll recently, seems to be fairly evenly spread with the stars and the wins being given out, so let's see if we can mix it up this week and go back to our originally scheduled broadcast where only one person gets awarded the win the whole episode. So as always, we'll dive right in. Would you rather that horses were carnivores, or every year you had to go back to school for exam season?
I'd rather horses were carnivores because it would make them way less girly. So if I decided I wanted to ride a horse, no one would judge me. Yeah, I'm basically riding a velociraptor. Deal with it. Oh, that man's really manly. Because unless you're a genuine cowboy and you go like around with 6-shooters and ranching and all that sort of stuff,
You can go around ranching.
ranching, yeah, on the ranch with some jolly ranchers with some ranch dressing. You know ranching, that thing that happens. Yeah.
We're inventing verbs, but do continue, John.
Continue with what? If you're a man and you go, oh yeah, I ride horses, they go, oh, you ride horses, and you get assumed that you like to do equestrian events where they walk really slowly across a big sandy box, and people look down on you and think you're weird and stupid.
Yeah, it would make what's it called, horse dancing in the Olympics.
Dressage.
It would make dressage a much more interesting fucking Olympic event, wouldn't it? That'd be the number one watched thing.
Trying to stop your horse from like ripping off one of the adjudicators' heads.
Yeah, and you'd get less kickoffs at the Grand National when they're like the horses fell and the other horses just dived in to rip the fallen horse to shreds. You wouldn't see in the Daily Mail anymore of, they're shooting the horses. That would stop.
And the jockey gets put down after his leg gets ripped off and eaten.
Yeah.
And the winner of the Grand National this year is the third horseman of the apocalypse.
Pestilence. Pestilence has won the Grand National.
I thought Pestilence was the first one. I thought it was Pestilence, Famine, War, and then Death.
Yeah, but not the order of the four horsemen, just the order that they won the race.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Imagine bringing like war horses back, because I never watched War Horse, the World War One story of the Lloyd's TSB horse that goes to die in a field.
Is that similar to Water Horse, which is about a seahorse or something?
I'm not sure. I think that's just like the Finding Nemo equivalent of the Horse Whisperer. I'm not too sure. I have to IMDb it. But yeah, that'd make it more interesting because everyone feels sorry for the horses because they didn't volunteer. They got enlisted and sent over. But imagine, everyone's like a horse without a rider's running through a field of mines. You think, oh, that's an accident waiting to happen. But then it jumps into Jerry's trench and starts chewing his face off. You're like, yeah, come on, horse.
It's becoming very reminiscent of, I don't know if either of you would have watched it, but did you ever see the cartoon as a child, Dino Riders? And
no.
It mixed up the fact that humans lived at the same time as dinosaurs, and they basically rode them, and then they eventually started like putting like bamboo huts on top, and like they ride elephants in India, but they were doing it with dinosaurs, and then these two clans like went to war. So it'd be very similar to that, except because a horse, if it was a carnivore, is essentially then a four-legged velociraptor, really.
Pretty much. They're quick. They're pretty smart. They've got hooves, so as much as it's not a claw on their foot, they can stick a hoof through your chest. You're not going to get up after that.
So if anything, John, you're saying that they're going to be quite dangerous. Essentially, you're wishing for Jurassic Park.
And is that a bad thing? We've domesticated horses. Let's be honest. They're a little bit more predictable than Tyrannosaurus Rex and the like.
That's because they're herbivores.
They're not quite as big. They're not quite as big, are they? And if it all goes wrong, we'll just call up Arnold Schwarzenegger and he'll punch a horse in the face and it'll knock it out.
And send a message to all the other horse lords.
Don't fuck with us. Be our mutual allies.
Be our ally by punching it in the face.
Well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. What's the enemy of the horse? Tesco's.
Lasagna.
Yeah. There's a weird game of rock paper scissors going on there, but I did kind of follow. John, thoughts?
No one
Well,
likes exams.
Don't start undermining my case before I've even had a chance.
Yeah, exams are great. Everyone do exams all your life. Brill. I'm an adult and I've just finished exams. I hated it.
I
It
mean,
was a necessary evil.
you chose to go do them, so you would rather do them than not do them.
I'd rather get a massive pay rise, yeah. But for doing them for the sake of it, why?
Well, who said you had to do it for the sake of it?
Sounds like that was the argument. Would you rather do it for the sake of it, or would you rather be eaten by a horse? I know where my stable is.
Wait, I never said either of those things. And also, if you had to do exams for the sake of it, or you'd rather be eaten by a horse, your choice is being eaten by a horse.
I'm sick of exams.
I would. If someone gave me that choice, would you like to be eaten by a horse? I'd say nay.
Hey. So I would much rather go back to exam week every year at school for a few reasons. Number one, I think during the time that I had to study and learn things, it was probably when I was most intelligent. I think since then, everything's gone downhill. You don't have to study. You just do the bare minimum in your brain to get through the day. And I think that's a real shame. So, prepping for those exams all the time, it's going to be peak John. Peak. Number two, my second reason.
No one cares about an Oxbow Lake. You can tell me as many lies as you want, John, but no one cares.
I actually bring up Oxbow Lakes all the time when I go on hikes with my wife. And I tell her this story every single time. I say, look, that could be an Oxbow Lake one day. God, nobody cares. I care!
My hat goes off to your wife still being married to you.
So did mine, but that was way before I knew that he was so into Oxbow Lakes.
I mean, it's fascinating. Look at the curve in that river. It could one day be an Oxbow Lake. Look at it.
I'm gonna tip my hat to you again because you both have got something on me. Maybe it's a John thing. Not a fucking clue what you're talking about.
Well, this is why it would be better off that we had to do exam season every year, because I guarantee you knew it once upon a time. And I think you just illustrated my point. Since then, we've just gone down in our mental ability. You're just not stimulated enough by work. It's not enough. You need to be constantly tested. The other reason that I want to go back...
to interrupt for a second, and not that I'm trying to deter you from going back to school, but since we were at school, things have changed, and I now do know what an Oxbow Lake is thanks to my smartphone and opposable thumbs. So I've learned something new, but I didn't need to go back and study and take an exam to figure it out. Anyway, do continue.
My second reason would just be to be that smug bastard who gets to say, don't worry, it's, exams aren't that important. There is nothing more satisfying than saying that to an 18-year-old who is stressing about their exams, going, oh my God, if I don't pass this, my life is over. And you can just, because you've done it 20 times, you can just go, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Take on an intern at work and you go, how many A-levels did you get? And they go, I got 7 A-levels, all A and A star. And you go, oh, I've got 271.
That too. I think everybody's got that one exam that curses them through life. They think back and they go, I had that was the one that really let me down. But you can go back next year, ace it.
And then what happens? Do you get a gold sticker?
No, you get an A level.
But if everyone's got 1,000 A levels, they become completely useless.
Not everyone, just me. I'm the only one going back.
So you'd want 1,000 A levels that mean diddly squat because you've got a master's, and everything below your master's means nothing. It's getting like a 50-meter swim certificate, like every year, but actually you swam the channel solo. So what's the point? You might as well open a box of cereal and pull something out and go, oh, this is an achievement now. No, you've lived a very healthy, good life, and you've got a very good pension. Why do you need something that came out of a cereal box to justify your living for the next year? It's pointless and banal.
I really appreciate you talking up my qualifications. I don't think people do that enough. But
hasn't your brother got a doctorate yet? John, hasn't your brother got a doctorate yet?
no,
Between
he
the
doesn't.
less educated of the two. Isn't he in the process of doing his doctorate, whereas you're just like dossing around in London for a bit until you find yourself?
I mean, I could technically also be in the process of getting my doctorate. It's just it's a longer process.
He's only dossing around London for a bit because he doesn't have the ambition to leave London.
We've had this discussion.
We have. I think the crux of this argument, I'm seeing two holes in either side. I mean, on the one side, if horses were carnivores, a big crux falls onto whether you're correct, John, that they might have been a predator, but because we're the dominant species, they pose no threat to us, or if overnight they suddenly became carnivores and it was a bit like Jurassic Park, at which point that would be devastating. However, if they'd always been carnivores, then we probably wouldn't use them in everything that we do, and we'd use goats or cows or something, and they'd be more like there's only 7 of them left in the wild kind of thing. Whereas of the exams, no one's saying you have to pass them. If I was told I had to go back and take exams every year, I wouldn't study and I'd just go and take a nap for 3 hours. Because, as John said, there's no point to them at this point in my life. Maybe if it was a higher level, then I say this, I did just study an MVQ level 3 and just qualified. But there is no point to them at this point in your life, especially, John, because, as John said, you've already got a master's degree, so it's not really going to change your life. So you'd be wasting your time studying for them.
One of the other great things about exam season is the end of exam season. The jubilation, the house parties where you go to and drink a...
Or you go to the football club and you end up throwing down the side of my car, Mr. John.
I was just getting there.
Just getting up there.
I was just getting to that point.
Drink too much snake bite and throwing up down the side of your mate's Corsa.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I mean, that's one of the happiest moments of my life. I'll let it be known.
I had to go in. You were staying with me. I had to go into my house, make your bed, drag you out, put you in my spare bed, and then clean my car down at like 2 in the morning.
So far, you haven't said a single thing that makes me not want to do that again.
Yeah, and I'm feeling absolutely zero pity for you, John, because the first time I went to your house, you showed me a stain on your wall where you'd been sick on it, that you'd left to dry and was still there years later.
Hey, I painted over that, and now I'm in my brother's room.
So, as far as my pity regarding vomit is concerned, you have literally zero.
It was behind the door, no one could see it. Anyway, you were going to vote for carnivore horses, and we're going to domesticate them like we did to wolves to dogs. You're going to go with that one, weren't you?
It's difficult. I think, given the current climate and how the times are changing, that the answer is going to have to be quite simple. As much as education is important, I do feel like the education system has been on a decline and the priorities have changed from definitely when we were in school and probably before, and it's now just a box-ticking exercise to get people through exams rather than actually educating people and preparing them for lives. And on the flip side of that as well, to do with, not talking politics at all, but we are leaving the European Union possibly at this point of recording. I don't understand it in general, so I don't really know. But if we are, we might need to be mounted on carnivorous, almost saber-toothed tiger-like beings to protect and invade and possibly take back the British Empire. So with that in mind, I'm thinking of us as a country as a whole. I think horses being carnivores at this point could be very beneficial.
They could be a good export as well.
They could be a good export if you're planning on being a horse arms dealer and like playing both sides. And also think of the carnage when they go fox hunting if the horses were carnivores as well. Jesus, it would be a bloodbath.
Once again, Would John Rather is not a podcast endorsing animal cruelty, just for the record.
We're not opposed to it either, though. If you are for animal cruelty, please tweet at us, #WouldJRather, #WouldJRather. Let us know if you're a fan of animal cruelty. And yeah, we're available on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. I think you can listen to us on your Echo if you speak to Siri or whatever her name is nicely. And yeah, give us a listen, give us a share, give us a tweet, give us a review. Just to help get our name out there, really. I believe my colleagues, both the Johns, have got Twitter handles as well.
I'm John Woodrather. That's Jon, no H, because streamlined process. We take the H's and we burn them for your convenience.
And you can not tweet me at John Woodrather
With a H.
with an H. I'm not going to tell you where. I'm not going to tell you where the H is, though.
Anyway, so yeah, on to question 2. So, John and John, strap in.
Is this the fun one?
This is the very fun one. Would you rather encounter Phillips or Flathead?
Sorry, would I encounter Phillips or Flathead?
In general. As in, what's your preference?
I would rather meet Philips because they make light bulbs and other electronic devices. And I've recently discovered the amazing thing where they're turning houses into the internet or something. And you can turn on lights in your house or dim them or make them colourful using a smartphone, or if you've got one of those things that invade your privacy and listen to your voice all the time, then you can turn on your lights and make them all colourful with your voice. And Philips sell those.
You know who I'd like to meet? Mr. Flathead, so I could stab him in the eye with his own screwdriver. Neither you two from an engineering background, but I cannot abide flathead screws anymore. Yes, they do a job, but there are so many other devices that you can generate torque and leverage and a good positive grip on the thing you're trying to turn, and just a simple flat blade in a slot just does not cut it because they're open-ended, so it goes out. It's just an absolute nightmare. There are different sizes available, but you only normally get one size screwdriver to do the job of flathead because that's all you need. But it's just not. It's just a woeful, antiquated old system. It's like we don't drive steam engines on the road because there are better versions of public transport. Why do people still insist on using flathead screws when you've got Phillips, you've got Torx bits, you've got hex bits, you've got star drive, you've got so many different ways of being able to transmit torque to a nut or a bolt that are much, much superior than a flathead. You're trying to put pressure on it and your screwdriver flips out the hole, gouges the side of whatever you're trying to work with, making the finish of it just subpar. Neither of you know how much it really angers me. Like, genuine angers me. Every time I strip a component down, it's like, oh look, a flathead, brilliant. Someone's not been bothered to use a proper fitting on it. Great, cheers.
But
I'm so glad I picked Philips.
That's you speaking as a professional, though, John. I get what you're saying, but as a pedestrian, flathead screws are useful. You can just use a knife and it's done. Phillips screws tend to you lose the threading in them if you don't screw them properly, and then they become irreusable. And I've recently had to change the brake light on my car, and that needed a Torx screwdriver. Only screw fitting in my entire car that needed that size Torx screwdriver. So I had to go out and buy one. Yes, it only cost £2, but and the petrol to go and B&Q to purchase it, when it could have a simple...
Do you know why you've got different size ones, Matthew? Do you know why you've got different size ones?
Why?
So use the appropriate tool with the appropriate leverage on it, so you don't over torque your bolt. Each of the different Allen keys have got different length shafts to them, so you can apply different amounts of force.
Wait. Can we just take a moment?
5 mil. If you take a little widdly diddy 5 mil hex, and you've got a 3 foot long bar on it, you're going to well over torque that. It's just inappropriate.
So, okay. So the different heads that you use for different screws and bolts and things is all down to the length of the shaft and the girth of the equipment that you're using.
Different torque value you need to put on it.
So it all comes down to length and girth. Is that what you're saying?
Always, absolutely. Length of the shank, the length of the grip,
I am taking you seriously, but you did use the word length shaft and girth all in the same sentence, and you can't expect me to ignore that.
That's fine, but it's it's as important for women as it is engineers. It's not about the science, it's about how you use it. Well, under talking, let it fall off, dear.
Yeah. Speak to Einstein and all the rest of the physicists about that.
So anyway, when I've met Mr. Phillips and I've stabbed him in the eye with his own screwdriver
Mr.
and
Phillips?
ranted at him
Wait,
about
wait,
how...
Whoa. Why are you stabbing Mr. Phillips?
No, I said I meet Mr. Flathead.
No, you said Mr. Phillips.
Oh, okay. I had a PE teacher called Mr. Phillips. He was cruel and unusual. I wouldn't dare stab him with a screwdriver. It made me do laps of the field at 30 years old.
I thought he was cruel but fair.
Yeah, he was.
Anyway, stabbing Mr. Flathead.
Stabbing Mr. Flathead. Even if we're going to venture over into the world of flathead motors, all the engineering behind them have been replaced with overhead cams. So flathead motors are rubbish. Flathead screws are rubbish. People that balance books on their heads, they've got flat heads. Learn another life skill. No one cares. Flatheads, whatever. Shut up.
So even though you picked flatheads, it's because you hate them so much you wanted more airtime to talk about how much you hate them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like if I met Mr. Flathead, I would, as I said, I would take his screwdriver and I'd do horrible things to him with it.
Okay.
I mean, horrible discrimination.
In fact, you know what you could do? You could use your Philips like dual band X-ray machine or your CAT scanner to find out where I've hidden the screwdriver inside Mr. Flathead.
Wow.
Because Philips make medical grade scanners.
Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, I was absolutely fascinated by the light bulbs, but I'm sure that engineering, that ingenuity, it's never ending, I'm sure.
They also make toothbrushes if you need more inventions from Philips.
Welcome to Would John Rather, the Phillips Appreciation Podcast. Wow. I'm gonna call it because I feel everything that's been said needs to be said. And I'm just gonna
some things that didn't need to be said got said.
and I'm gonna say just picture it's Christmas Day. It's a single parent, they've saved up a long time for Christmas to get their child the toy that they've always wanted. And they open up the packaging and they need to put the batteries in and they're so excited. And there it is, anything other than a flathead screw. And they don't have a toolkit. That child's Christmas is ruined.
So aren't you glad that Mr. Phillips just came in and you just met him?
If only it was flatheads, they could have used a knife. And as much as Philips have got all these great inventions, there are many other companies that do the same thing. And also I know it's going to infuriate John that I think the Flathead is superior to the Philips. Flathead wins.
I've listed to you about 24 reasons why flatheads are awful, and you've not listened to me, and or you've just made up your own scenario and picked your own winner. Yet again.
We've recorded 15 episodes of this. Do you not understand how it works yet?
Also, John, you just won.
You've ignored you've literally ignored everything I've said.
Yeah, but you won, John.
I don't care.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Produce me, Mr. Flathead. Where is he?
I think I've just ruined his family holiday. Oh, congratulations, John wins. I really hope.
I'm still actually quite angry. Still really angry right now.
Oh dear.
I'm going to go to all my live things when I get home and replace all the flathead screws in them with something else.
That's all right, because I was going to come around to your house when you're at work and replace all of your screws with flatheads, because your wife would let me to, because she probably doesn't care what kind of screws in all your appliances.
You know what's even worse? She actually now listens to the podcast because she's bored at work.
Hey wife, tweet at us if you don't care if I come and replace your screws. No matter how girthy and long they are.
Well, there's an invitation you can't refuse.
I was talking about screws. As far as I'm concerned, a nail does the job better than anything, but hey ho.
Nail's not removable once it's driven home.
That's why they put the other part of the hammer in.
But when you drive it home, you need to like dig under the head of it to get it out.
Yeah, you're going to have...
You're not supposed to stick it all the way in, just part of it.
Just the tip.
Okay, just the tip of the nail. I remember that. This is turning into our bluest episode so far. Should we move on?
Please.
Okay, Matt. Would you rather have more hours in the day or more days in the week?
That's a tough one because of what I do for a living. Because I feel it's a lose-lose situation because I'll either end up working more days because there's more days in the week, or I'll work more hours because there's more hours in the day. But I guess that's true for anybody.
But more hours for recreation.
Yeah, that's the thing. It depends whether I'm thinking about work me or recreation me. Because work me would say more days in the week, because that's going to give me more chance to make revenue and hit targets and make money for where I work. However, more hours in the day, there's only so much that you can do in a day when you work in a hotel and run functions. So I probably would get a bit more downtime to get everything at work done. Therefore, I'd be able to have more time off and stick to working, 1/3 of the day, 5 days a week. That is what most people should be doing, a 40-hour week. So even if the days suddenly became 30 hours and I was having to work 10-hour days, there's not anything extra I'd have to do in those 2 hours because I would still only have the same amount of work, but I'd have more time to do it, so therefore I'd have more time off. But more days.
That makes sense because there's only a finite amount of rooms you have in your hotel. You're only going to have a finite amount of guests. So unless you move to a bigger hotel, which then they cater for more amounts of staff.
I think one of the issues would be is if there are more days in the week, people generally may find they have more leisure time. And what do people do with their leisure time? They go and abuse people who work in hospitality.
This is true. I'm going to assume that we're taking science out of this, and a year is still a year. So if there were more hours in the day, there would still be 7 days in the week, 52 weeks in the year.
Yeah, but the average life expectancy now becomes 50. You could drive at 14.
No, I'm saying that's the thing. If there was more hours or in the day or more days in the week, either way, we would still have a life expectancy of 80 or whatever it is. We would still have 52 weeks in the year, no matter how many hours that was. So that would all still the same. That would all rise exponentially, because otherwise it's pointless answering that question, because if you made 8 days in the week, you're just borrowing one. If we started that this week, we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, blow day. And then we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, blow day. Or we had 27 hours in a day. That's just taking away from tomorrow what you could have today. But if it was still, there are 8 days in a week, but there's 52 weeks in a year, and you're going to live 80 years, then that makes things simpler.
We could decimalize time.
We could.
I tried that. It didn't work.
Yeah, we've tried that before. So, for argument's sake,
1% of the day was 14 minutes 27 seconds. That's really awkward.
So, for argument's sake, just so I make sure I understand the question, I've got the choice of moving to 2 other planets that are certain distances from the sun that are exactly the same as ours, except one's got 8 days in the week, 24 hours, 52 weeks make a year, and one's got 28 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 52 weeks in a year, essentially, because that just makes it simpler to, make them compare and contrast against each other. So
yeah, space travel to a world exactly the same as ours is simpler. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, but multi-dimensional theory, yeah, whatever. So, yeah, I think hours in the day, because either I'd get more time to do things at work, or I'd get more time to do things at home. I mean, as I said, I tend to do 10 to 12-hour days generally today. Today was a short day, and I had a 9-hour day, and that was a short day for me. So, if I had more hours in the day, I could do a 10-hour a day and still be able to get 10 hours of sleep and have 8 hours downtime, for example, and that wouldn't be an issue. A 50-hour week would all of a sudden be quite nice, as opposed to that's a bit of a heavy week, but that's the standard thing. When I get into Christmas and we've got Christmas parties at work, all of a sudden I've got an extra 2-3 hours to set up It would also depend on what time in the day the hours were taking place. But, we're getting a bit too complicated. But yeah, for a nice work-life balance, which isn't something people get in the hospitality industry, I will go for hours in the day rather than days in the week, because days in the week would just mean that that's an extra day for me to work and an extra day for me to worry about.
That's fair. That really is fair. That's actually very, very intellectual little conversation we just had there.
Yeah, and I appreciate both of your inputs as well, because it's not something that I've really thought about ever before. So it was, that was nice and interesting, and I appreciate that you didn't take out my Flathead decision on me.
Oh, you bring that up again. I'm just getting angry all over again, man. Just angry all over again.
Or are you letting that one simmer and stew for a couple of weeks before you eventually unleash unknown fury upon me?
Just wait. In 2 weeks' time, you're going to have that question you've really, really not been wanting to answer.
Are you going to take me back to the 90s? Is the vengeance bus coming?
I'm angry, but that's funny.
John doesn't get it because he didn't do 90s pop. He didn't study that A level last exam season.
And apparently at work I have to do a module of Popmaster to complete my license. It's just a standard thing. Ready 2 comes on, Popmaster comes out, everyone gets 30 odd points, and I sit there looking like an idiot because I go, don't know, no idea.
Your final
I have no
physical
idea what the B-side to whatever that was.
Your final physical exam is doing an accurate moonwalk.
Oh god, I'm gonna die.
Well, I guess that's all we've got time for this week then, isn't it? You need to get back to your holiday, John.
I do indeed. My wife is very, very, very kindly let me run away to a grassy knoll to record this while our child is high on sugar and screaming his tits off.
Well, I mean, we could do another question if you'd prefer.
No, I need to get back. I need to help out. We're a team.
Let's go, team John Wife's son.
Yeah.
That made you sound Jewish.
John Steen.
John Wifeson.
Right, okay. I've been John, and I'm going to go back to my holiday.
And I've been John, and I'm going to go loosen up with a screwdriver.
And I've been Not John, and I'm going to go back to planning our trip to the Arctic tundra. This has been Would John Rather. They've been John, and I've not been. Tune in next week. Thank you very much. The vengeance bus is coming.
Nothing means something. Will somebody do it? Will everybody?